All right, peace and blessings, shalom, family. Here with another episode of Jeremiah 29 Foundation. I wanted to make this video because I'm going into the Day of Atonement, and I wanted to use the stars to prove that this is the 7th month. And I wanted to be able to bring on a full presentation on how you can easily go outside and tell your seasons using the sun, moon, and stars. So, without further ado, I'm going to break into it and break out this presentation. All right, the title of this presentation is How to Easily Tell Your Seasons Using the Stars. So we know in Genesis 1 and 14 that the Almighty said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years." So it's evident that these lights are for signs, seasons, days, and years, which is the sun, the moon, and the stars. Now, the thing we must do is understand how to tell what each light does. Most of us clearly understand that the sun is used for the days and the times of days. Of course, people know that the moon is used for months, but many of us have little to any understanding how to utilize the stars. In this presentation, I'm going to break down how to use it and how to easily illustrate how you can easily pinpoint when is the spring, your summer, your harvest, fall, or the winter. So I'm about to dive into understanding the time. One thing we understand is that a clock on the wall has 3 hands, and Almighty gave us 3 hands in the heavens. So we know that if we wanted to know what hour we're in, we would use the hour hand. If we wanted to know the minute or the second, we'd use the hand that determines each particular category of time that we want to utilize. Now, if I was to take away an hour hand off and say, like, I don't want to use this right here, but I'll ask somebody ask me and say, like, hey, what time is it? So if I take the hour hand away and then and someone asks me what time it is, I can't give them the particular hour. I can only give them the minute or the second. So if somebody say, like, hey, you got the time? I'm gonna say we in the 30th minute. Well, what hour are we in? Well, I don't know how to use the hour hand, so I can't tell you what hour we in, right? And that same principle goes to the sun, moon, and stars. If you don't utilize all 3 witnesses, you cannot get the precise time. And that's just simple understanding, simple logic. If I was to take away the stars, it's harder for us to gauge what season we're in. And that's been the problem with us determining our feast days and the beginning of our years and our harvests, is because we're not utilizing a third witness to determine. We can easily determine when a day ends and the day begins using the sun. We can easily tell when the moon begins and ends using the moon. But the thing of the matter is that most of us cannot tell the time of season unless we utilize the stars. So with that same analogy, I broke down that the sun is the second hand, in other words, to a clock. The moon is the minute hand, like in a clock, and the stars is the hour hand. The sun being for days, the moon's for months, and your stars are for seasons and years. Now, the book of Job, the 38th chapter, the 32nd verse, tells us, it says that, "Canst thou bring forth Mazarah in his season, or canst thou guide Arcturus and his sons?" Now, what this scripture is illustrating is that Mazarah, which is H42:16, means constellation. So it's particularly talking about, canst thou bring forth the constellations in their season, right? And what Arcturus is H59:06, meaning the constellation of Great Bear, which is also, in our understanding, is Ursa Major or the Big Dipper, which is you can spot in the north. But right here is clearly letting you know that these constellations are brought out in a particular season to let you know what season you're in. because as you go back to Genesis 1 and 14, the scripture says that let these lights be for signs, seasons, days, and years. And the Almighty is clearly illustrating to Job that I'm the one that brings out the stars in their season. And I'm the one that guide Arcturus with his sons. So this slide right here shows what Arcturus is and his sons. Now, many of us really never got into the stars. A lot of us shied away from it. They think it's something that's negative, but in truth, the stars are a tool to utilize for mapping and to tell time. And that's nothing more, nothing less. We do not use stars to determine how we act or operate and our signs and all of that. No, they're clearly just a time beacon and an indicator of our appointed times. So right here we have the constellation Arcturus, which is the Big Dipper, also known as Ursa Major. This is what you would be looking for in the sky to help you determine your season. It's one constellation really that you need to really look at. You don't really have to really gauge Orion and all of the various other ones that you can, and that helps you pinpoint the exact month. But determining your season, you only need this star right here. This star, or this constellation right here, which is the Big Dipper, goes around the North Star, which is Polaris, which you will see in the north. It goes around the star daily and monthly. So every time the evening comes, you will see this constellation move from east to west. And I'll show a diagram breaking that down. Now, the two suns that it's talking about is Arcturus. I mean, not Arcturus, but Hamal, which I circled here, and Spica. Now, when it becomes the beginning of a year, Spica always leads the moon, letting you know that this is the first day of the first month in your year. This lets you know that the year has begun and sprung forth. When this comes out of the horizon, when the sun goes down and this star leads the moon, this lets you know that Ursa Major is in its aligned position to be a new year or the spring. When Hamal leads the moon, it lets you know that Ursa Major is in its position, which lets you know it's the fall or the harvest. And as this constellation moves around the North Star, these two stars follow it. So they flip-flop, just like how you got a hand pointing to the 6 o'clock and then it flip-flops to the 12 o'clock. It's the same principle when dealing with this constellation and these two stars. Spica in the beginning of the year will lead the moon, and Hamal will lead the sun on the first day of the first month. And the seventh month, which the month we're in right now, Hamal will lead the moon, and the Spica will lead the sun. So they basically just switched. And you will see this, and this is what they call the turning of the year. And this is the diagram. Like I said, when Spica first leads the sun, when Spica first leads the moon, you will see Ursa Major or the Big Dipper in its spring position. It will be perfectly aligned. So when that Spica star that we showed here is leading the moon, Ursa Major, the Big Dipper, will be in its position. And also, when it comes to the fall or the harvest, Hamal, this star, will be leading the moon. And it flip-flops. And like I said, this is a continued cycle as it goes around the North Star, or what they would call Polaris. But this is a continued cycle, and it's been going on for thousands of years. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't change, even if it's a 13th month or a 12-month year. 7 months or 6 months after Spica leaves the moon, you will get to the fall every single time. And in order to get back to here, Spica must lead the moon in order to get back to spring. And this is consistent. This is what the planters use to plant, the farmers almanac, and the people that does any type of agriculture. They need to look at the stars to be able to determine when to plant, because if you plant out of season, you will lose your harvest. So it's very, very pertinent to understand these, because if we never had lights in the heavens, we would never know when we would plant or when to be able to form. And what I want to also show is that in this slide, like I said, the same thing you see in the sky in America is the same thing you see in Jerusalem. So this is for anybody that wants to go on timeofday.com. Here on this website, you can clearly see the night sky. Right? You can clearly see the night sky. You can back out. And I want to show you guys how to work it as well. It clearly draws out the various constellations, but this is the constellation that we're using. And as you can see at the date of 10/25/2024, that this, which is Ursa Major, which we showed in this diagram, is in its position, which is the fall. Right? Now, if we go to a month back, you will clearly see that is not fully aligned in this position, as you can see in the diagram. It's not looking like that. It's a month away. And I can easily show you this where it lines up with the moon, also with each moon. So if you go back, you see it's not there. But if I go forward a month, it's perfectly looking like the diagram that's illustrated here. Now, when trying to find Spica, right, or Hamal, we're also going to go to this website. It's called Stellarium. Stellarium, you can able to type in what you're trying to look at and its date. And you can find this also on the website. You can go to Stellarium, which is STELL. You can go on this website. It's free. It doesn't cost any money. You can go on timeofday.com. You can also type in a location. Like I said, whatever you see in Cincinnati, you can see in Jerusalem, and I'll show you that. So right now, we're going to go to the date of we can go to 2027, because this was the first day of the first new moon, right? The first day of the 7th month. And like I illustrated in the previous slide, that Hamal will lead the moon. So here we have the moon right here, right? At the dawn, it was 100% illuminated. As you can see, it tells you the phases. It tells you the whole phase and the percentage of what the moon is. So it's letting you know that it was 100% illuminated at this time of the dawn. So right here on the 7th month, this would be considered the new moon day. So as you can put in Hamal, right? Notice where Hamal stands right there, right? This is above that new moon. And if you can carry it through the night, it leads the moon all the way to the morning. And it's the first one to set. Boom. It led the moon all morning. Now notice where Spica is. Spica, the other star that I mentioned in the other slide. Spica is in the proximity or leading the sun. So we know, like I said in the slide here, that this speaker in the beginning of the year will lead the moon. Hamal will lead the sun. That's the first day of the first month. Now, in the 7th month, you will have Hamal, which I just showed you, which will represent the first day of the 7th month, will lead the moon, and speaker will lead the sun. But let's go to the beginning of the year to see if this is true. So we go back to the beginning of the year. So we'll count, since this is 7th month, let's count 6 months back, roughly 6 months. So that put us around April, right? Put in the moon to let us know the phase, okay? So we can go up or down. All right. So we're looking for speaker, right? All right, so now let's type in speaker. So we seen in October, or in right now, that speaker was leading the sun. Now let's go back 6 months, which would be the first month of the year. And we're going to type in speaker and see where it's at now. And there you have it. The first day of the year. This is what the first day of the year looks like any year. And as you go back to this date, which is April the 23rd, you could clearly put in Ursa Major. And it's in its position. As you can see, go to the twilight. When it gets dark, it's in its position. So you can go back to the diagram and see. Spring, the same position, and it's the same thing every year. It's the same position every year. Same thing. Now, let's go to Hamal when I showed you the same sign. Hamal. Remember I told you where Hamal would be on the first day of the first month. As you can see, it's under the horizon at the moment, but you go to the sun, and there you go. Hamal is with the sun, leading the sun, letting you also know that this is the first day of the first month of the year. So clearly, if you rewind this video, you seen I showed you that speaker leads the moon on the first day of the first month, and Hamal leads the sun. And when you go back to the fall, we go back to the fall. Now Hamal is leading the moon. You go to fully illuminated. Notice where Hamal is 6 months later. You have Hamal leading the moon. So it's a perfect clock. And then all you do is just go back to Ursa Major. And it's in its perfect position, letting you know that this is the first day of fall, letting you know that you're in the 7th month, or the first day of harvest, which is the 7th month. As the scriptures let us know clearly, that it says in Genesis 1 and 14 that let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from night, and let them be for signs, seasons, days, and for years. So these lights are very pertinent in understanding that. And what I did in this presentation is showed you that it's a simple light that you can utilize to look to see what month you're in and what season you're in. We don't have to call Jerusalem to see this. Like I said, the same thing you see in Cincinnati, we can go to Jerusalem. I don't know how to spell on Jerusalem. Put it Israel. All right, so this is Israel or Jerusalem. And then we go to the dawn. Go to the evening. So this is daylight. So this is the evening, right? Moon. Notice where Hamal. Hold on. Same situation. What you see, this is moonlight from the twilight to moonlight, darkness, night. You will see Ursa Major in its position, the full moon. And notice what the diagram shows. This is at night or the evening. The same sign. It's the same sign. And notice what you will go if you go back 6 months back. You go to the moon. Hold on. This is Jerusalem. This is Israel. All right, now. Pull it up. All right, cool. But notice what you will see ahead of the moon. And this is in Israel, and it's the same month, the same day of the month. Type in speaker. Same exact sign. Speaker is leading the moon. Speaker is leading the moon the whole night through, all through the night to the dawn on April the 24th. That was the first month of the year, in April the 24th, for first month of the year. And notice what Ursa Major looked like. It's in this position. The same position. The first month in the year, the first day of the month is the same position as this diagram. It's very simple. The Almighty says that his lights are for signs, seasons, days, and years. So it doesn't matter if we are in Jerusalem, China, wherever the case may be, the heavens is going to let you know his appointed times. Like he said, for new moon to new moon and Shabbat, all should come and worship. If all was to come and worship, they have to be on the same time. We don't need to call anybody in Jerusalem to let us know about anything when the signs are in the heavens. So I hope this bring any thoughts, and I hope this help out. So like I said, we're in the 7th month right now, and going into a new year next year, we know what to look for. You want to look for speaker. See the moon, you want to see speaker. The first new moon that speaker leads, when speaker leads that new moon, letting you know that that's the first moon or the first day of the first moon or month of the year. I hope this helped. Thank you. Shalom.